If you're looking for a best free-to-play TCG right now, you're at the right place. I wanna show you Unchained, which is still my favorite TCG and pretty much one of the first Web3 games that I actually started playing. Today I wanna show you some basics, how you can start, what to focus on, how the whole game works, and what you should avoid pretty much early on as soon as you start playing. So let's deep dive into the video. GM everyone, welcome to CryptoGrid channel. So as I said in the intro of this video, this is my favorite TCG. I started playing it around 2 years ago and it's pretty much one of the first Web3 games that I started playing and one of the first games that actually hooked me up and locked me in to keep it playing. I was first time on the leaderboard, I was consistently in the mythic. Now I made a small break, so I'm pretty much coming back to the game, and I think now it's the perfect time to do this video because they're just releasing the expansion, so it's actually perfect time to join and start playing. So what is Unchained? It's a free-to-play TCG that is available on PC and Mac, hopefully soon available on mobile as well. And the idea is pretty simple. You build a deck of 30 cards, you pick one of the 6 gods with which you wanna play, and the goal is to bring your opponent's HP from 30 to 0. If you played other TCGs like Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, Legends of Runeterra, or pretty much any competitive TCG game, a lot of things you'll already be familiar with. So you have mana, creatures, spells, weapons, board control, tempo, value, combos, and all the good painful stuff that makes you question your life after one bad misplay. And we're gonna deep dive into all of this in this guide. So the first thing that you're doing, you're picking the god with which you wanna play. So there are 6 gods within the game. There is a warrior, which is usually aggressive and weapon based. There is Death, which uses Sacrifice, Void, Burn and Reanimation effects. Light, which focuses on buffs, healing and board control. Magic, which is about spells, combos, runes and late game payoffs. Nature, which usually plays big creatures, healing and mid-range pressure. And Deception, which is all about hidden creatures, stealing cards, tempo, and making your opponent angry. There are 2 different types of cards. There are cards that can be used pretty much alongside any god, and each of the gods has a class-specific cards which pretty much define how you actually want to play the game. So how do you start playing? The first step is pretty much to go to the official Gods Unchained website, you create an account, download the launcher and install the game. As I said, the game is available on PC and Mac, and after you log in, my first suggestion is to actually do a tutorial. I know nobody likes tutorials and in many games they are pretty much useless, but here the tutorial will pretty much allow you to learn different mechanics and pretty much allow you how to get started properly. Once you complete the tutorial, you will get some free packs which will be extremely helpful at the start because they will allow you to kind of customize your deck and adjust it based on your needs. And like there are some starter decks which I suggest you to pretty much try each of the starter decks, play a few games with each of the gods and see what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to do next. Also be aware that it's pretty much impossible to craft the perfect deck instantly. You will need to play a lot of games to kinda understand and see what your opponents are playing. Maybe I want to throw this card out of the deck, throw the other one in. So at the start you just need to play and to try to understand what's happening and how you can improve from game to game. At the start, your main goal should be to kind of understand how the turns are working, the mana gained from turn to turn, and what cards are good, which ones are not good, and how to not like pretty much throw the game by doing stupid moves or not understanding what your opponent is doing at all. The part where most beginners get confused are cards, so let's deep dive into that. So pretty much every card has at the top left corner you will see the mana cost of each of them, and pretty much it tells you how much mana you need to play the card. For example, if the card costs 4 mana, you obviously won't be able to play it at turn 1 because you start with 1 mana, and unless you cast some mana boost, it's impossible to play the card that early. So if you look at the creature cards, all of them, they have attack and health. Attack pretty much defines how much damage your creature deals, while the health pretty much shows how much damage they can take before they die. Keep in mind that creatures cannot attack on the same turn they are played unless they have some special keywords like Blitz or God Blitz. That means most of the time when you play a creature, it goes to sleep first and can attack after the first turn is over. Then you have spell cards, and spells do not stay on a board. You pretty much play them, their effect happens, and after that they are pretty much gone and goes into your graveyard. There are different kinds of spells. Some might deal damage, some draw cards, some buff your creature, some reduce the cost to cast specific cards, some remove enemy creatures, and some can create huge combos. The third type of the cards are Relics, and they're basically a weapon to god, and they usually have strength and durability. Strength shows how much damage they can deal once you attack with your god, while durability is how many times you can use them. And keep in mind that if you attack with your god, pretty much you will take the damage that is equal to the attack of that creature that you attacked. So you need to know against which god you're playing, against which deck you're playing, to actually know whether it's kind of worth to attack and destroy the creature, or you should just leave them on a board for now. Also, all the cards can have different rarities and qualities. When it comes to the qualities, they can be plain, meteorite, shadow, gold, diamond, or variant. Keep in mind that the stats of the card pretty much remain the same. The different part is the ownership of the card and the amount of gas that you can earn per winning games if you're highly ranked on a leaderboard. In terms of rarities, cards can be common, rare, epic, legendary, and mythic, and usually they kind of define how strong card is. Usually the higher the rarity, the better card it is. It doesn't necessarily need to mean, and obviously you need to adjust it to the deck that you're playing, but it's general rule of thumb. So the next part is obviously playing the game. At the start of every match you choose your god power, and this is actually very important. Each god has 3 god powers, and depending on the matchup, one might be way better than another, and depending on the archetype that you're playing as well. For example, if you're playing Magic, you might want a god power that helps you control the board, which means, for example, in my case, usually dealing 1 damage to a creature or to opponent's god to pretty much finish him if that's needed in the late game. After the god power, you're entering the Mulligan phase, which means that you can pretty much reroll the cards from your starting hand. As a beginner, you need to be very careful with it, and the general rule of thumb is that you wanna reroll higher cost cards, and over time you will adjust which cards you wanna keep, which cards you wanna reroll depending on a deck you play against and the deck that you play with, and this highly depends from the case-to-case scenario. As I said, my general rule of thumb is to keep stuff that costs 1, 2, or 3 mana, because you don't want to happen for you that there's like second turn going, and you have pretty much nothing to play. This is, I think, one of the most common reasons why pretty much new players lose, because they put like stronger cards that are usually more costly, but they have nothing to play actually. Every turn your mana increases, and until the turn 5 it increases by 1, then it started increasing by half mana and then 1/3 of the mana. So in order to get to the 10 mana, for example, in total, it actually takes you a lot of time, so you shouldn't rely on extremely high cost cards. So as I said, planning your mana curve properly is, I think, one of the key things within the game, because if you lose the tempo early on, sometimes it's very hard to recover once you're later in the game. Also, there is something that's called Bag of Tricks, which gives you a temporary extra mana during the turn. The player that is going first gets fewer bags than the second one, and the goal and the purpose of this is pretty much to balance the advantage of going first. And keep in mind that this can be huge, because playing extra mana at the right time can sometimes determine whether you win or lose the game. I feel one of the biggest issues for new players is learning keywords, and I know each TCG has keywords, but each TCG pretty much calls different things in different ways. So this is one of the things that I want to deep dive into, at least to cover some of the basic ones. So the first one is frontline, which means that your opponent has to attack the creature with the frontline before it attacks your god or the other creatures. Basically think of it as a wall, so if you have a strong frontline creature, it can protect your board and buy your time, or sometimes even win you the game in the end. Backline is exactly the opposite. To attack the backline creature, you pretty much need to clear all the other creatures on a board in order to be able to attack the backline one. Then there is Blitz, we covered this one earlier. Blitz pretty much allows you to attack with the creature at the same moment as you dropped it on the board, but usually you cannot attack opponent god unless it's actually god Blitz, and that's pretty much the difference between these two. There are some relics with the god Blitz that are actually very useful if you're playing warrior, for example. Next is Confuse, which pretty much that you have 50-50% odds to hit the targeted creature or god and between other targets, and this is actually like pretty fun until it happens the moment that you have confused creature and you attack the target that you didn't want, and again often you might lose the game because you attack the wrong target because your creature is confused. Then there is Hidden, which means that the creature can be targeted while it's hidden. Usually it lasts for one turn, but some of them can become hidden and hidden pretty much after every turn. This can be very annoying if your opponent pretty much stuck hidden creatures and start dealing insane damage directly to your god, and it's very hard to combat. Afterlife is one that you can see pretty often, and it pretty much means that the effect triggers once your creature dies. Roar pretty much means that the effect happens when the card is played and enters the board. Regen means that the creature heals at the end of the turn. Usually we'll see the number, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the amount for which it heals. Ward protects you from one enemy spell or effect. In some scenarios this can be extremely useful because it prevents your opponent from actually targeting the creature that they could actually kill easily. On this way you can often keep it and kinda even win the game because of that. Protected prevents the next damage the creature would take. Deadly destroys any creature if it deals damage, so be careful if you have 1 damage, even if it's deadly and your opponent has armor or has protected, you won't kill it. So keep that in mind. So there are more keywords, but these are some of the basic ones that I think are very, very important in order for you to actually start playing and start winning the game. So as I said, first deep dive into the tutorial, then after you finish the tutorial you can start playing different modes. Ranked is probably where you will probably spend most of your time, even if you lose it. Start ranked is still pretty much useful because you learn faster and you can earn extra rewards in my mind as well. Casual is great if you want to test some decks, test out some stuff, but I would still play ranked mostly. Then there is Sealed, and Sealed is kinda in my mind more for advanced players because you already need to be familiar with the cards, with the gods, with the spells in order to do well in the Sealed. The main difference is in Sealed, you kinda need to pick the cards from the cards that you were given, and it's similar to a draft modes in other TCGs. Once you start playing ranked, you will notice that during weekends there is weekend ranked, where the first 18 games that you play determine the reward that you will be getting. So my main goal would be to kinda position as high as possible during the week, and then during the weekend you wanna pull as much wins as possible from the first 18 games that you're playing. Also there is a battle pass within the game and 3 quests that you can get daily, and pretty much once you complete each of them, you kind of progress through the battle pass where you can unlock different rewards in terms of packs, cards, and gods token as well. In my mind, you don't need to buy everything at day one. You should kind of play a little bit, explore the game, see what you like, what you don't like, learn the basics, and then decide if you wanna deep dive more into it. So the final tip is how you can actually improve very fast. As I said, I think this is the best way. This is how I did it. This is how I suggest you to do. Pick one deck, play enough games with it, do not change the deck after every lose. Sometimes you did not lose because the deck is bad, sometimes it will take you some time to understand the mechanics, understand what kind of opponents you're facing and how you can kind of adjust and create the best deck against them. For me personally, it took me like few months, maybe even half a year to start making my own deck decisions. Until then, I mostly try to copy other people's decks, and usually if you copy decks from the people that are consistently mythic rank, that's kind of the way to go, and that's the way how you will progress the fastest in my mind. I will leave all these links below the video. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions regarding the game, remember I'm always there to help you. You can write them in the comment section below, or again, you can hop on a Discord, you can even add me on Discord and I will try to help you there as well. So to recap, just do the tutorial, pick one god, learn one deck, read the card, check Sanctum, and do not panic if you start losing. The skill will come with experience, and the more games that you play, it will pretty much become your nature and your habit to do good moves over time. Like some people reach mythic in a month. For me, I think it took me 2-3 months to reach the mythic for the first time, and I think there is a lot of good players now within the game, so it's not easy, but I am waiting for you. Thank you for watching and staying until the end. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Thank you. Bye bye.